Every time we inhale, we are drawing in the purest energy from the source and energizing this beautiful instrument to come alive, fragrant, connected, expanded. And every time we exhale out, we are giving our highest state of gratitude, and we exhale out into the plants, and the plant world comes alive. So there is a beautiful exchange between giving and receiving. The Kundalini journey is not complete without this. The more you give to this body, more it receives. The more you receive, the more you give out. So it's like a two-way cycle. It's not possible to separate this. So the best way to give to this body is to inhale highest, absorb the highest prana possibility, and then when you retain it strong enough to realize that there is something happening magically, which is every atom come together, there is a joyful collaboration of this connectedness. And then as you exhale, you are giving your highest. There is no in-betweens. The exhalation is so complete and so pure that everything around you is nourished by it. So this cycle of completion is pure exchange, and the pure exchange of giving and receiving is so beautiful that we have to derive the intensity in a constant way. We have to train ourselves that we can give on a constant basis. It's not like yesterday I felt great by giving and receiving and it was just a small routine and it's a separated activity, and then we treat life as separate. So what happens, most people treat Kriya as a disjointed activity, one off, and then the next 23 hours they're doing something else which is hurting their state of being. So how to access that state of being which is constant? How to access that state of being? So that means meditation is not a reclusive or seclusive activity. It is a state of connectedness everywhere. Everything is meditation. You don't have to look for a secluded place. When you are fully absorbed in this meditative awareness, the subjective awareness of the Sukshma Sharira within, automatically you can experience some small shifts that are happening to us which we are not usually aware of. The tingling, the sensations, the feeling of the energy which is swirling inside. There is a movement. This movement is natural because it's a river flowing through. But were we aware of it, or we don't care about it? We cannot wait forever for something to happen. So the best way to do is training it through prana, training it through access that awareness by pure absorbed state. It's called Tallina Avastha. The more Talleen we are in that state, it becomes more enhanced, optimized, and it eventually leads us to a state of concentrated flow. There's a difference between dharana and dhyana, which we are missing out. Dharana and dhyana is like if you take two vessels and pour water from one jar into the vessel, you will see the water dropping in a slightly disjointed way. It's not coming a streamlined flow because it's flowing in torrents. There's a bubble of air bubble passing through. But when you pour oil from a jar into the container, it is like a streamlined flow passing through. And that is dhyana. Dhyana is consistent. Dharana is slightly disconnected at times. You feel you are diverting everywhere. So that's what is happening to our process. Is we are doing little bit of here and there, and then we are trying to make it integrated. So what happens, since there is no consistency, we become easily diverted, and that's when we have done disservice to this process. So how to become consistent? Sadhana is not one day you feel great, you get certified that you have received shaktipat and then you're fine. So what is qualifying us to access that shaktipat? Shakti is always flowing. There is a connection to the source, and that source is penetrating through us more powerfully the more aligned we are. That means it is all about calibrating this instrument, aligning this instrument, and offering this instrument with the highest gratitude and alignment to such a way that there is no choice. We are not giving any choice to it, saying that what if you go this way, that way. There is no question of deviation. Right in the center, in the central pillar of column, there is a powerful, like a pillar here, which you cannot be disconnected from anything else because it is supremely connected to the Iktara, that cord which connects us to the matrix. And then we are supremely aligned to that, knowing that we are constantly flowing, whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not. There is already a river of prana flowing. Most people have assumptions that I'm not ready. What are you ready for? You're already flowing, but you lack the trust that you are flowing. So enlightenment is not something that you have to try to get enlightened. You are already enlightened. What is missing? The remembrance of it, the recognition of it, the awareness of it. So what we do, we try to take a longest possible route, take the biggest possible loop, and then we come back to it while discovering that we were it. I am it. So that's when the supreme awareness is revealed in the form called aham, idam, shivoham. You realize that you are it, but you want to go on the long cycle. You want to go on the journey which is going to take you through so many diversions and deviations, ending and spinning in vicious cycles. So that's where the realization is. That yearning is so strong, that longing is so strong that you cannot separate it. And that's when the supreme powerful knowing that we are it is so immense that you collapse. Remember, the difference is when you try to seek, you're not going to receive it because you're still outward. There is an extension of you. So that mind and heart, there is a very nice interpretation of this. When mind collapses, it becomes heart. When heart extends, it becomes mind. So where is mind? Everywhere. But if you scan this whole universe to look where the mind is, since it's everywhere, it is permeated everywhere. There is no concept of my mind, your mind. So the intelligence which gathers its awareness through creative flow called Visarga Shakti has so enhanced and so intensified that it is not trying to splurge outward. It is so concentrated that it just emerges from the shackles of limitedness, resistances, and breaks through this entire so-called limitations, resistances, karmic residuals, and rises with the crowning glory. That real crowning glory is the Kundalini, the heaven on earth, which can give you much beyond all the pleasures that you're looking at. Somebody had mentioned in Himalayas that it is said 1,000 times more powerful than an orgasm. So people are trying to chase an orgasm, but it is 1,000 times more powerful. If it happens to us, we can't even know what's happening because people are already so inclined that in a 20-second divinity, what can happen? The ego is dropped. What if it happens in a longer magnified way, the so-called collapse of that individuation, the collapse of the ego itself will ignite the Kundalini Shakti to rise to a high height. So the sign of elevation is the simplicity, that humility, that connectedness, that supreme unity, which makes us so easy that you're not trying to find a technique to it. You're not trying to find a way to make it happen, because the Sahaja Sthiti is that naturalized state, an inherent state. You're not trying to unlock it in a very complex way. Then we define that this is the Kundalini Vidya, it's a most complex technique, then we will find a crack through it. It's like climbing a mountain from different angles and then you're claiming the glory that you conquered it. It's not about conquering, it's about accessing the purest knowing that it's so simple, so beautiful that it just happens to you, like sleep happens to you, love happens to you, meditation happens to you. Kundalini rising happens to you. You don't try to rise. You don't try to lock and then make it look like you're going to do a pressure valve scenario where you're going to rise it and make it happen. That's when all people have experienced trauma because they're trying to make it happen. The naturalized state is supreme balance, which is again balance happens. You don't try to balance. It's like trying to train yourself into balance. You don't know when it clicks. If something happens magically, balance is attained, naturalized. So same way, this journey is so phenomenally beautiful that samatva, the balance is so insidiously within us. It's already there and it's just clicking in and everything just magnanimously flows. And realizing that we were already it was already flowing. The remembrance of moving from avidya to vidya, moving from the deep-seated resistance to a state of viveka to know that this is the real original state, which is the original state is already awakened state. This Adi Parashakti is already flowing. This Sadashiva is in its peak magnetism and there is an immense irresistible state. That irresistible charm and magnetism of that will eventually make it so powerful and intense that it cannot be held and everything flows and there is nothing to hold back. The river merges with the oceans of bliss. Ananda prevails and Ananda is the genesis and also the convergence. Hari Om Tat Sat.